What's up guys, welcome to part 1 of Project Zeus, and you might ask, what is Project Zeus? Well, I suppose this is my build log for my new PC, which is going to be pretty much half and half between a gaming rig and a hardcore editing suite. This is something I've been planning for a long time. It's always been one of those, I haven't got the money to do it now, I'll just wait a little bit, all that kind of thing. We are at that stage now. We have got the new Nvidia GTX 1080s and 1070s out, and we have the new Broadwell-e chips, the ridiculous multi-core chips. So I am at the stage now, right, I'm going to bite the bullet and build this PC, and I'm going to kind of share with you my kind of thoughts about how I'm putting it together. I'm going to kind of document the whole journey. Do lots of kind of benchmarks on the individual components, reviews and things like that, and I'm going to share it all with you guys. So what is Project Zeus? The actual PC I'm building, I'm going to go through all the parts. So starting off, as I said, I was waiting for the Broadwell-e chips. So if you don't know what these are Intel's enthusiast build chips. Starting off at, what was it, the i7-6800, which is a 6-core hex-core chip, going through the 6850K, 6900K, and then the 6950X, which is the ridiculous 10-core one. Now, I'm not going to be able to afford that. I'm not even going to be able to afford the 6900. But it was a toss-up between the 6800 and the 6850. I'm going with the 6850 because it has greater bandwidth for PCIe slots. I think it'll do 40, I think it was, PCIe, and because it's slightly higher base clock, the overclocking on it will be a bit more stable. So that's my rationale for going with this 6850 as the processor for this beast I'm building. Motherboard wise, as I said, I wanted lots of storage in it, so I was looking for a balance between all the utility of, it's got to have enough SATA ports, it's got to have, you know, all the kind of the nervous system for the machine in there. So, but I didn't want to pay, you know, 300, 400 quid. I wanted kind of the mid-range. So I've decided to opt for the ASUS X99A2. Now, this may change before I buy. This is one of those I'm potentially asking crowdsourced help. Is this going to be a reasonable motherboard for what I'm after? So if any of you guys have got an ASUS series motherboard or a competitor, something like MSI or Gigabyte or whatever like that, similar kind of specs, let me know what your experiences is. I haven't put together a PC in a long time, so it's kind of been a learning curve once again. I used to do it way back when, but I haven't built a PC in a long time, so this is me trying to get my feet wet again. RAM, obviously a big important component in the edit suite. I'm going with 32 gigabytes of Corsair Vengeance 2666 DDR4. Once again, I could potentially go, you know, 3000 megahertz or above or something like that, but I knocked it down to 2666 just to save a little on the cost of things. But I had in mind I have to have at least 32 gigs. I could potentially get away with 16 gigs of memory, but I want 32 gigs. I love, you know, 64 or 128, but I think 32 gigs is going to be the sweet spot for doing the higher end editing, lots of layers, lots of rendering, all that kind of thing. Now, considering the ridiculous price of the 1080s, that went out the window. So it was really between the 1070 and maybe the 980 Ti. Both are very much the same price. I think where I was looking, they're all around about, you know, £390 to just over £400 for the aftermarket third-party type cards. So it is a decision between, well, I know that 980 Ti is tried and trusted. A lot of editors I know use it. It's got a higher CUDA core count, which is important when, again, with the rendering and that. But the 1070 is new and shiny type one. It's proved to be a lot faster with, well, not a lot faster, but it certainly beats out stuff like the 980 Ti and things like that in a whole bunch of games. So currently my thinking is I am going with the 1070. If you guys have got any experience, again, crowdsourcing information from you guys, let me know what you think. Should I go with 1070 or the 980, or should I try and scrape together the extra, was it 200 quid for the 1080 inside the machine? As I said, I'm after a lot of kind of storage type stuff, so I have kind of broken down how I want to organize the storage. I'm going to have a Samsung EVO 750 250 gig solid state drive as the OS. I'm going to have a 1 terabyte black WD black hard drive for kind of all the day-to-day stuff, you know, documents, things like that, extra storage, Steam games, things like that. I'm going to have a second Samsung 250 SSD purely for the main kind of games I use that I'm looking to kind of get the better performance for, better loading times, things like that. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to squeeze lots of kind of the AAA games on that, but that's going to be for those few games I want to work well. I'm going to have a 500 gigabyte 850 EVO SSD. That is going to be purely for the edits. This is going to be Premiere's kind of scratch disk. This is where project's going to be worked on, so I've got a better ingestion times for the edit and things like that. And then I'm going to have, well, I'd like to have a couple of 2 terabyte black hard drives for capture, potentially RAIDed together, and then a 3 terabyte, it can be a slower drive, something like a WD Blue or something like that, 3 terabytes, something like that, for archiving. So basically all those kind of past projects, all the raw footage transcoded down into something a bit more manageable, all that kind of thing, as kind of an archive. But again, to cut costs, I think I'm going to knock off the archive drive and one of the kind of capture drives for the time being, just to bring down the cost a couple hundred quid more. Okay, so what else? Power supply. Okay, currently I'm looking at the Superflower Leadex 750 watt 80 plus gold version. Again, as I said, I've not put together a PC in a long while, so this is another one I'm kind of leaning on you as the community to maybe give me some advice. Is Superflower a good brand? Basically all the reviews I've seen, they seem to be the highest rated for the kind of the power and price range I'm looking for. Obviously 750 watts seems a little excessive for, you know, what's required in the way of the graphics card. Doesn't need that much power supply, but I'm thinking future, maybe SLIing 270s together, 1070s together, or, you know, maybe upping the demand, potentially getting a 1080 Ti down the road or something like that. I want that kind of a bit more wiggle room. It's better to have a larger power supply that will maybe do me the longer run, also work a bit more efficiently. So yeah, but again, as I said, advice from you guys, crowdsource advice. Is the Superflower worth the money? Is it just a badge that's not particularly good? What I'm genuinely after your kind of advice and help on this one. Cooling, right? I am going to go for a all-in-one. I'm going for the Corsair H105 Hydro all-in-one cooling system. That's the 240mm large radiator type one. Again, this was one I was kind of debating over, looking at lots of reviews. I think the Cooler Master Nepton, whatever, similar kind of price range. I think that's about 80 quid, whereas the H105 from Corsair is about 95. Very similar kind of reviews. The Nepton came in as, you know, it will do the job, but the Corsair is slightly better, but unfortunately slightly louder. Obviously I want kind of as quiet a system as possible for recording purposes. I don't want lots of fan noise on the mics and that, but I also wanted liquid cooling as opposed to air cooling, because I am planning on overclocking the CPU, not ridiculous kind of speeds. I want to try and just bump up that base clock and boost clock a little so I can actually get a bit more grunt out of it. So that's why I'm looking at getting liquid cooling. What I'm currently looking at is the NZXT H630, which is their full-size case. The matte black one, I don't want a white one. I want something that's going to kind of be darkened in the corner somewhere. I'm not bothered about, you know, ridiculous RGB lighting and all that kind of thing. I don't need windows on the side. I'm not looking for a case to show off. I want something that's practical. It's got the sound dampening, but it will give me what I need. So that is my current thinking. So that's a list there of what the current plan for the system is going to be. One other thing I'm still going back and forth on is operating system. Obviously the obvious thing would probably go with Windows 10, but my personal experiences with Windows 10, I've only played around with it a little on my brother's computer, and every time I tried to capture on that, it failed whatever the software was I was using. Whereas, as I said, with the Alienware, I've had no problems with Windows 7. It works with Fraps, it works with DxTory, all that kind of thing. I will be using Shadowplay with the Nvidia cards, also playing around with the Ansel type thing as well, in what games are available. But yeah, I like stuff like Fraps and DxTory for that kind of better lossless picture quality. So anything that looks pretty in game, I want to try and get as best quality as possible. I know YouTube compresses the shit out of it, so it doesn't really count. But yeah, I'm looking at potentially going with Windows 7 for Zeus. And as I said right at the start, I am planning on upgrading this, potentially sticking something like the AMD RX 480 in it, so I can do a compare and contrast, but potentially upgrading this one to Windows 10. So any of those games that, you know, Microsoft announced at E3, or stuff like Gears of War, Sea of Thieves, Forza, things like that, ones that are coming out on Xbox One, also coming to Windows 10, I will be able to play, as well as stuff like a lot of Square's new games, stuff like Tomb Raider and Hitman are benefiting from DX12 in Windows 10. So that's my thinking. I'm going to potentially go with Windows 7 for the rig, but again, I'm leaning on you guys. What operating system are you using? What capture software are you using? If you're, you know, content creators, if you're Twitch streamers, YouTubers, whatever, what have your experience been with your capture software and your operating system? So do let me know. So as I said, that is pretty much the system. That's what's planned. I'm basically potentially biting the bullet and starting to order stuff within the next week or so. So if you've got any advice for me, let me know in the comments below, or you can get in touch with us on any of the social medias. As I said, I will be charting the entire kind of build process, breaking down like mini reviews of each major component and doing benchmarks for everything. I will do a whole bunch of benchmarks on games. I've already got planned stuff like GTA 5, you know, cranked up to the max, stuff like Metro Last Light, Witcher 3, potentially something like Total War Warhammer for maybe testing the actual CPU rather than just the graphics card, because I know because of commanding the mass armies, the CPU, it does lean onto that a bit. But again, is there any games you'd advise me to check out to actually test the rig? Obviously this is going to be a costly affair. I'm trying to keep it to a budget of £2,000. It's going to involve a lot of shopping around. There may be some skimping on, as I said, I've already knocked off 2 of the hard drives off what I wanted. There may be knocking down the speed of the RAM to 2400 speed to potentially get it down to price and things like that. But that is my budget, £2,000. So that's what, $2,800 about, just under £3,000. So that is where I'm at the moment. So yes, hopefully I can start bringing you reviews and unboxings and benchmarks in the coming weeks, and if you want to see that, I do suggest maybe subscribing to the channel. You'll be able to see everything we put out, not just these kind of build logs, but also the co-ops and let's plays and reviews and first impressions, all the stuff that I'm mainly building the rig to actually be able to do more of the kind of the higher end stuff and not just some small indie games. I'm hopefully getting this all up and running, so those huge AAA titles we're starting to get towards the end of the year, I will be able to bring you reviews and first impressions of full let's plays. I am looking to also do it a lot more streaming, so yeah, do subscribe, do follow us on Facebook and Twitter. I will let you know when we're going live with different stuff, when the videos go out, and if I'm streaming, what times and things like that. And yes, as I said, this is going to be a costly affair, so if you want to help support the channel, support us in creating content for you, do go across to Patreon and maybe chuck us $1. I might actually kind of start working more with kind of Patreon, specifically with these build videos and that stuff, like, you know, if you donate $5 a month, you get to pick out which game I benchmark, and we do kind of almost sponsored by patrons type content, but I will do little behind the scenes photos and that, which I'll post up on Patreon page and things like that. But yes, if you want to get involved, obviously subscribe to catch all the latest videos, follow us on all the social medias at the Kilobits to kind of see what we're up to, and if you want to help support the channel, head over to Patreon at patreon.com/the Kilobits. Alright, I will let you know when the next video is out if you follow us on all the social medias. Until then, bye.